I wouldn't really consider Robyn or Meri my sister wives.
No, just not the same bond there.
I hope she can get in a loving relationship. I know that she, like, I've just...
You know what? It might be a game changer for her if she really saw someone who actually could treat her like, I don't know.
Nice. It's not the same bond. It's not the same relationship.
Like, I wish them well. I wish Meri well. I really do hope. Like, I want all the good things for her because I feel like she's been through the ringer. Bless her heart. She's very loyal. She hung out. She stuck it out because that was her belief or whatever.
Well, it's the whole religion thing too. I mean, same as you.
Yeah. I don't know how. I still don't know. I still don't know.
Divorce.
So here's something you don't hear every day. 3 out of 4 sister wives actually agree on something, and when that happens, you know it's serious. The consensus? Robyn Brown has been lying, or at the very least bending the truth, about her so-called rules and the way she sees marriage, hierarchy, and divorce in their world. And Cody? Well, let's just say he's still as confused as ever, admitting that he doesn't know if he's technically still married to Janelle or Christine. But wait until you hear how Robyn allegedly thinks a spiritual marriage gets officially broken. It's straight out of a reality TV fever dream. Cody, in his usual fashion, recently admitted that he's still unsure if his marriages to Christine and Janelle are actually over. His reasoning? Christine never went through an official spiritual release before moving on with her new husband. And as for Janelle, well, she hasn't done it either, so Cody seems to think there's still some mystical bond holding them together. In other words, he's basically waiting for divine intervention to tell him he's single. But here's where things get really wild. Robyn once claimed that Christine's marriage to Cody wasn't truly over until she slept with another man. According to her logic, the only way the so-called spiritual seal can be broken is by Christine moving on in every sense. Yeah, because apparently in Robyn's world, legal divorces and personal choices aren't enough. Christine, of course, found this whole idea absolutely ridiculous. She made it clear that she doesn't recognize the church's authority over her life and never needed anyone's approval to leave. Meanwhile, Janelle seems stuck in some kind of spiritual limbo. While she and Christine were on a road trip to North Carolina, she admitted she still wasn't totally sure if she was considered released from Cody. And while she said it jokingly, it's clear that these outdated rules still weigh heavily on her. So let's get this straight. Cody thinks the marriages might still be intact, Robyn is out here handing out spiritual laws, and Christine and Janelle are just trying to move on with their lives. If this doesn't prove how messy and ridiculous the sister wives breakup rules are, nothing will.
Oh, I still don't know.
Divorce.
See, like, I think she got one.
No, apparently until you have sex with the next guy, you're not divorced
I just
anyway.
think that's bull. I'm sorry. I mean, I think that's dogmatic. Like, I'm like, whatever. I mean, that's a dogma I used to hear.
Yeah.
And I used to be like, okay, whatever.
Robyn said, in the church that we used to belong to, they teach that you're not divorced until you basically have sex with the next guy. Skip it all. Go have sex with somebody. Then that marriage is over. You can move on. You know? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Let's talk about the wild, twisted logic behind polygamy in the AUB, Apostolic United Brethren, and how it all ties back to Joseph Smith's Doctrine and Covenants 132. This is where he laid down the so-called celestial marriage rules, aka the loophole that made polygamy a thing in the LDS offshoots. And let me tell you, the mental gymnastics here are Olympic level. According to these rules, a man can take multiple wives without it being considered adultery, because earthly marriage laws supposedly don't matter. The only thing that counts is God's law, which, conveniently, lets them justify a man having multiple wives while keeping women on an incredibly short leash. If a man strays, it's only considered a problem if he sleeps with a woman he hasn't been sealed to. Meanwhile, if a woman so much as breathes in the wrong direction, her eternal soul is on the line. If she has sex outside of her marriage, boom, covenant broken, seal shattered, straight ticket to hell.
I don't know if there's some kind of karmic connection that Janelle and I are obligated to still. I didn't feel like I needed a spiritual divorce from Meri. But I didn't feel like I needed a spiritual divorce from Christine. Robyn's believing in that still says they need to have these marriages dissolved or whatever. In the end, God will be able to sort it out.
Now, here's where it gets juicy. Christine is reportedly planning to ask Suki at the next tell-all to confront Cody about whether he and Robyn had sex before marriage. Why? Because their engagement photos were giving way more than just hand-holding. And according to their own rules, that would mean Cody technically broke his vows before any of the women ever did. The hypocrisy is unreal, but are we even surprised at this point? And let's be real, Joseph Smith's original rules contradict themselves left and right. At this point, it's less about faith and more about whatever benefits the men in charge. Christine is out here saying just have sex, break the seal, and be free. Because if the rule book is already this ridiculous, why keep playing by it?
It kind of bothers me that Christine's so flippant about, well, you should just go sleep with somebody, because my brain doesn't work that way. I mean, the boundaries were set in place because these are families. Otherwise, if it's just some guy goes and gets a girlfriend and starts sleeping around, it's just a bunch of baby mamas. But we are a family. We are raising children together as a family structure, not just a whole bunch of women who are sleeping with some guy.
This whole situation is a hot mess. And honestly, it just keeps getting wilder. Janelle, Christine, and the rest of the Sister Wives squad are straight up clowning Robyn's so-called spiritual divorce rule, and rightfully so. Christine thinks you should just be able to go do your thing. No church sign-off required. Meanwhile, Janelle isn't necessarily backing Christine, but she definitely isn't buying Robyn's whole get spiritually divorced first concept. At this point, it's a full-on joke, and no one is taking Robyn seriously. But the real tea, when you actually go back and look at this family's history, the contradictions are crazy. Janelle let something slip that really puts things into perspective. She basically said that if they didn't believe in this faith, they'd all just be baby mamas. But were they ever really a family? Sure, maybe for a short period of time when they lived together in Lehigh, but let's be real. Once you break it down, that family narrative starts to fall apart. Because here's something the show conveniently glosses over. Janelle actually left Cody after giving birth to Gabrielle. She wasn't just taking a breather. She was gone for 5 years.
So, but the spiritual, so as far as that goes, spiritually,
I don't know.
I've talked to God and figured that out. What does he think about all of it?
I'm not asking because I just don't care.
In that time, she went back to school, got her degree, bought a house, and lived as a single mom in an entirely different city. Meanwhile, the show acts like this was some temporary separation. But let's be real. If you have time to complete a college degree and become a homeowner, that's not a break. That's an entirely different life. So why did she go back? Well, surprise, surprise. Cody was going bankrupt. Suddenly he had a grand plan to move to Utah, and somehow he convinced Janelle that this would magically solve all their problems. And just like that, she was back in the mess. And if that wasn't enough, Meri Brown later exposed just how bad things really were. On a podcast, she revealed that at 6 years old, she was helping change diapers and take care of her siblings because Janelle was juggling work and school. Imagine being 6 and basically co-parenting your younger siblings. Maddie straight up said that experience left her traumatized. And now, as an adult, she refuses to put her own kids through anything like that. So Janelle can call it a family all she wants, but let's be honest. Cody was just out here collecting baby mamas and letting everyone else handle the fallout. At the end of the day, one thing is clear. Janelle might still be holding on to some delusions about their past, but the cracks in their story are huge. And as for Robyn's spiritual divorce rule, everyone thinks it's nonsense. But hold up, because Meri is about to spill the real tea on what that rule actually is. Stay tuned.
Until I have sex with somebody, that means I'm still attached to Cody. I don't think it means that. I think it really is more for if you're going to go outside of your marriage and have sexual relations, then now that marriage is nullified.
I know Meri has just recently gotten a release, like what we call a release, which is a divorce. And it's made me think, I kind of like the idea of getting a spiritual release, but I don't even know who to call.
Robyn Brown's calculated rise to the top wasn't just a love story. It was a masterclass in manipulation. The real kicker, the very doctrine she tried to use against Christine, Janelle, and Meri actually disproves her entire argument. According to religious texts, if a woman engages in a relationship outside of marriage while still committed, the spiritual contract is nullified. Yet Robyn weaponized this idea to maintain control, allegedly making sure the other wives felt bound to the family, financially and otherwise. Her tactics were anything but subtle. By convincing the others that they were still obligated to the family, she allegedly ensured that their bank accounts, assets, and financial contributions remained accessible. This wasn't about unity. It was about control. With Cody on her side, Robyn positioned herself as the one calling the shots, the one dictating who stays, who pays, and who gets to leave empty-handed. And let's talk about Cody for a second. Robyn didn't just win him over with love, she allegedly played a much deeper game. She stroked his ego, fulfilled his desires, and placed herself in a position of ultimate influence. Once she became the favored wife, she became his right-hand woman, a Ghislaine Maxwell to his Jeffrey Epstein, orchestrating the family's affairs from behind the scenes. If she had her way, she'd probably still be running the show, even if new women were brought into the picture. But perhaps the most damning part of all, the money. One of the biggest fights leading up to the family's unraveling had everything to do with finances. Allegedly, Robyn didn't just share Cody's wealth, she took full control of it. Once Robyn became Cody's legal wife, she allegedly started treating his money, and by extension the family's money, as her own personal bank account. And the other wives, well, let's just say they didn't exactly get a say in how it was spent. But what's really shocking is how Robyn allegedly kept her power, and the threats she used to make sure she always got what she wanted. From the moment she legally tied the knot with Cody, Robyn allegedly viewed his assets as hers, even though she signed documents stating that the wives didn't own property and that Cody had sole and separate assets. She still treated the family business account like her personal slush fund. Whatever money came in, it was expected to flow to her and Cody first, and from there, they got to decide who received what. But here's the kicker. Because she was Cody's legal wife, she held all the power. Anytime Cody's other wives, Janelle, Christine, or Meri, dared to question how money was being spent, Robyn allegedly played the ultimate trump card. She threatened to divorce Cody and take everything. And since Cody had already witnessed her completely financially wreck her ex-husband, alienating his kids, getting Cody to adopt them and leaving him in ruins, you'd think he'd recognize the pattern. But nope, he kept falling for it. Now, let's talk about the absolute silence surrounding this. If this were any other reality TV show, there would be public outrage, media headlines accusing Robyn of financial control, and production would be stepping in to address it. But in this case, nothing. No pushback from the show, no major articles calling it out. It's like the whole thing is just being ignored. One of the biggest money scandals, Janelle allegedly used her own funds to help pay for Robyn's house. And when confronted, Robyn just shrugged it off, saying, "Well, she gave it to me." Oh, really? Did she just hand it over, or was she promised something in return? Because from the outside looking in, it sure sounds like Janelle got played. And it's not just the money. Robyn has allegedly been setting up rules to keep herself in control, like her bizarre claim that the other wives can't date anyone new until they get a so-called release. Janelle, Christine, and Meri all agree that this is total nonsense. It's just another way for Robyn to maintain power and keep them under her thumb. Meanwhile, Christine has finally started opening up about how toxic her marriage to Cody was. She admitted she has trauma from their time together, actual nightmares where she wakes up thinking she's still trapped in that relationship. And let's be real, if you're having full-blown nightmares about being married to someone, that's not just a bad breakup. That's trauma. That's someone coming out of an abusive situation. Janelle, on the other hand, isn't quite there yet, but her daughter, Maddie, just confirmed what fans have suspected for years. She publicly said that Janelle and Cody's marriage was unhealthy and that Cody was abusive to the whole family. So while Janelle might not be ready to say it out loud, the people closest to her are already calling it what it is. But here's where things get really interesting. Christine, Janelle, and Meri, who have spent years dealing with their own conflicts, are now fully united in one belief. They all agree that Robyn is a liar. That's rare. That's big. Because if the three of them, after everything they've been through, are finally on the same page about this, what does that tell us? Let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.